Hello, everybody. This is Joe Sonona of Sonona Speak Seminars, and this is Coffee Talk with my special guest this week, Jessica Elmazi from Compass Real Estate. How are you, Jessica?
Hey Joe, how are you? How you
I
doing
am
today?
great.
Thanks for having
You
me
got
on.
your coffee too?
I do. I have my shake. It's my
All
protein
right.
shake. Joe. No
um,
trouble.
I'll get right into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in real estate, and again, welcome to the program.
Thank you. So I got licensed back in 2001, and I started out working for my mom, who's been licensed for, geez, I think probably somewhere around almost 40 years at this point. And was the head honcho in Queens Co-op Market, and when we were all part of a big office, First Choice, which is no longer around, but it was a big office. It was the biggest office in Queens. So I was immersed in real estate because I was stuffing envelopes, sitting doing sign-in sheets at open houses for the agents. I was handing out magnets, you name it. I've been in real estate longer than I'd like to say.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. Anne is older than me in real estate, as I begin my 32nd year this year. I did know your mom, and I know her to be a very successful realtor and a very successful niche player in the in the co-op market in Queens.
Yep.
So kudos for Anne, and now you're taking up the legacy and bringing it to a whole different level, aren't you?
Yeah, so we specialize. Me and my team, we're the Jessica Moves You team, and we specialize in bringing people out of their co-ops and bringing them into their first home. So we know the co-op process in and out. We were trained by the best, and we practice the residential side of real estate by helping people get placed. Co-op transactions are so different in a timeline than a residential transaction. So it's so important when you're making that leap that you have somebody representing you that understands how to time those out.
Correct, correct. So this is a listings program, and I picked you because you are a top lister in your field. And but there is a special secret sauce that you have. You want to share it with the audience?
So I think the secret sauce that I have is not so much of a secret. It's pretty much when I first started really making real estate my forever career, I had a mentality of investing in the long term. So you can come into real estate, watching $1 million listing or $1 million beach house. That's not real estate. That's number one. Okay, that's not how it works. Number two, you have to invest. It's a long term thing. So if you get buyers in the beginning, you run those buyers, you keep that relationship, you reach out to them through the years, because people that are gonna buy will become sellers in the future. So the first 5 to 7 years, I truly feel if you want to build a continuity in your pipeline, irrespective of just cold leads, the way to do that is to really immerse yourself in buyers and make sure that you maintain the buyer relationship and reach out and say, okay, hey, do you know that you bought your first place 5 years ago? Wonder what it's worth now. Look at how much equity you've built. And I think for me, that's been something that has, even in COVID, the COVID market has had people seeking me out because I've had so many
Yeah.
repeat people. They're like, you sold me my apartment. Now we're moving to Long Island. I'm like, great girl. I got the sale and I got the buy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me, so your focus has always been with buyers who have turned into those sellers, and your secret sauce is you're selling is follow up with them and to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, because I think, the reality is for a new agent that's coming into real estate to say, I want to be a listing agent. You're not you're not ready. As much as you know how to list something, there's a lot that goes into it. So you've got to master the purchase before you can master the sale. You need to
Mm.
understand the mentality of the buyer. Because when I'm in front of a buyer and I'm selling someone's property and I'm representing them as a listing agent, I'm now using all the years of experience learning how to read certain, maybe physical cues or energy cues or question cues where I'm like, oh, the person's starting to lean this way. Let me bring them back. And the only way to really be able to properly sell is you got to really build. Real estate is a foundation where you build upon, build upon, build upon. And I feel that a lot of times people want to jump the gun and, be the new hotshot on the block. But the reality is there's so much to learn in real estate. And a lot of people don't know just even, I'll be honest, like I look at myself and I'm like, there's new stuff going on in real estate, but besides all the rule changes that happen, there's just new things we learn about in real estate every day. And this is, I've been licensed since 2001. I don't know everything. So if you've got, 2 years of experience, I think a lot of times the most successful historic realtors always started from the bottom, so to speak. They started out with tenants. They made relationships with landlords. They sold apartments. They would sell the house as they got a lead here and there. And they built and established relationships. Those relationships are what are going to make you successful when people feel like you're genuine.
It's a very interesting take. It really is. I was reminiscing to how I started, and you're absolutely right. I started with apartments, property management, a little bit of property management. I started with the renters, I started with the buyers. I didn't start off right away with the listings the way I did. And to this day, I still do a little bit of both. So that it keeps me fresh and updated in today's world. But you, my dear, are the queen of co-ops, as I call
Oh,
it. You are the queen. You are the queen of co-op sales. I've been watching your career a lot, and I love your technology, what you use in your latest technology. You want to share that as a lister?
yeah. So I think, again, we're talking like it's 2020, we're post COVID. So having comfort in front of a video camera is super important. I've done quite a few Zoom listing presentations. So I think technology has forced a lot of people to get comfortable if they weren't. We are big into video content. We've been putting a big focus on that this year. You've got a call.
No.
Been putting a big focus on that this year because my video guy, he's at Runny Vision. If you check him out, he has a very, you know, he said to me a few years ago, he's like, Jess, what you put online now is the commercials for you forever, because video is always going to be online. So if you're putting out content and you're putting it out now, you're just building. And I think for a long time, people put so much effort into still photography content, but then that became out of date and out of. I don't think it's out of date, but it's, when you look at what gets more of the views on Instagram or look at TikTok, it's completely video now. There's a lot of
Mm.
Instagram is competing with TikTok with Reels. I've been getting more and more inquiries about real estate through our videos. So, like, if we do a lot of our video tours on YouTube, our YouTube channel is Jessica Elmazi or Jessica Moves Your Team on YouTube. And something that has been beneficial, especially during COVID, is the fact that even with other realtors, if somebody reaches out to me, I'm able to say, here's my YouTube link. Go to my YouTube channel, check out, go to the available listings section, or everything's on there. Go to this. And then, people start to really get to shop passively, because I think that's what the world of Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com has created. Is like the passive real estate buyer, the passive real estate seller. Like, hey, what's going on? Let me see what's available in my market. And that's one of my first questions that I ask people when I go on a listing presentation. What do you think your apartment's worth or your house is worth? Because I know you looked it up. So tell me what you think.
Well, I have to tell you, just by observing a lot of our colleagues in the business, you being one of them, right? I love your video content. It's real, it's factual. There's You don't strive to entertain, because which is something that I'm gonna teeter on a border on something for a second, but it's not risky. It's not evasive, you're factual, you're giving facts, and but you are entertaining because you are being a little um, uh, not dramatic, but in when you go into a listing, you're you're speaking from the heart, and not just the facts of
Yes.
the listing. I noticed that. I saw one of our colleagues 2 weeks ago in a boat, and he was funny and it's entertaining, and but when he was being funny and entertaining, the camera pans off to the house and he still has that factual stuff. And then I'm saying to myself, do people want entertainment, factual realism from their realtor? Do they want the realtor to step out of character? What is it, do you think people want to see when they're looking or shopping around for a house, besides the obvious, the house?
I think that buying a home is one of the most stressful events in somebody's life, right? It's usually the biggest financial investment someone's going to make. So I
Mm.
think if you have somebody that I think being genuine is super important, because the people that are going to watch my videos or go to my YouTube channel or go to my Instagram and they're going to follow me, those are the people that are going to want to work with me. Realistically, there's going to be some people that are not going to want to work with me, and that's okay. Like, I'm not for everybody. But when somebody says, you know what, I like her, that's because they're gonna get some me as a realtor. I find myself being a therapist, a little bit of a comedian, sometimes a bit of a home inspector, an advocate. I think we play so many roles. So I think if you are the most genuine version of you, you will find the right people that want to work with you. I don't have like a methodology that I subscribe to. Like, you know me on a personal level, you know me from the board and everything. I'm a bit of a goofball. I know how to be silly, but I'm
But a
also
good goofball.
goofball, but you also have seen the other side of me where I can come out like a tiger. So I am passionate and I care that when I'm selling something, I've brought I never want this is what it is. I never want somebody to feel like they made a bad decision because I didn't bring something to their attention. So I kind of consider myself a Sherpa. And there's going to be
But I
times
have
where
to tell you, though, you are an advocate too.
I
Tell the
am.
truth. You're an
I'm
advocate.
an
Um, I saw you in not rare form, but I saw you in all form last year when you appealed to our politicians about the co-op law. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how passionate you are about the co-op law?
So I think for a lot of people, I think co-ops have a bad rap. Okay, they're the most affordable housing product in New York, and I think most co-ops. I'm gonna even go as far as to say is like 99% of co-ops are doing the right thing and really trying to make sure that they're creating a financially stable environment for their shareholders. There's some co-op boards that everyone hears and they're like, co-ops are so difficult. And I think if there's a little continuity and expectation of, oh, there's a
Oh,
number.
well, I don't know what that was. Go ahead. It's still recording.
Okay. There's continuity between the certain things with board packages and whatever. It makes it easier for the consumer to know what kind of timeline to expect and whatever. Um, but as far as co-ops go, I think they're misunderstood, and I think that they are really the most affordable product out there on the market, and they are when you purchase a co-op, you have to really understand what you're purchasing. Is this a development where you can buy and maybe sublet in the future or whatever the case may be? But they become the first foray for most people into familial wealth. And that's something I'm very, very passionate about, is about the legislature making sure that we're advocating for laws that allow people to buy, and especially minority communities, immigrant communities. My father was an immigrant, my husband's an immigrant. So I feel that those are really the ways to establish familial wealth. And a lot of times there's a misunderstanding and a demonization about those.
That's your phone
That's
now.
my phone. There's a demonization of over home ownership because everyone's got. I think some politicians have this perception that if you're an investor, you're the monopoly guy. Like every
Yeah.
person that invests in real estate is somebody that has 75 properties or a building, and most of the
Right.
time,
Right.
like
But
with
what's wrong with that? What's
nothing,
wrong with that? What's
nothing.
wrong with home ownership as an investor? What's wrong? As long
There's
as you take good care of your properties, as long as you're doing the right thing. I mean, I don't think co-op boards are doing the right thing when they discriminate against a person based upon, all the fair housing protected classes that they're a part of. I don't think that anybody should discriminate against anyone for that matter. But in co-ops, this is why we want a transparency law that makes sense. Something that gives the rhyme and the reason as to why you denied the consumer. But you advocated for that last year. Do you want to tell everybody what happened as a result of your advocacy?
so
I know I
um
hit you with a different question, but I want everybody to know who you are as an advocate because not just a lister or a top lister in your field, but we give back to our communities as realtors. And this is something big that you gave back last year. And as a result of you giving back, what happened?
so like I said, I want to just hedge this comment because this is making me a little nervous, Joe.
Okay, then I won't discuss it.
Topic.
Well, here's the thing. I will say it because of your advocacy and because of your determination to protect our real estate field and to advocate for people who need that home ownership. Um, people in government listened to us, and you led the charge. And I wanted to show everybody here on this program that you're more than just a realtor who lists property. You're an advocate in the community that gives back, and you're a good person. So I just wanted to celebrate you for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Are
that
you
what we
read
did
yet? Are you read yet?
I think what we did last year was we managed to, for the first time in Nassau County, create a bipartisan initiative. And I think it was pretty major. And I think that there, again, was a misunderstanding of what we were fighting for. And again, it becomes a little bit to like bring it full circle, like what old car, right? So you have like your your old car reference that you like to bring up. Um, we want to make sure that there's a public understanding, there's continuity, there's transparency. So
Disclosure.
disclosure. Well, I mean that, but that's the thing. Nassau County, the Nassau County Legislature last year, um, made a did a bipartisan law or put a bipartisan law into effect that pretty much says, or is authoring, because I don't think it passed yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so they authored a bill just to say pretty much, hey, listen, from the time you submit, you'll get an answer within at least 45 days, yes or no. And that's
Right.
pretty much all we're asking for. We're not asking for the whole cake. We just want a slice. So if we know that um, if we know that a buyer's been approved or a buyer's been denied, then the seller gets to move on. That buyer gets to move on. But there were certain instances where just the developments were having trouble getting answers from either their board, because those are volunteer positions, and those positions, you depending upon the size of the development, sometimes people have personal lives. They're not getting paid for those board member
Correct. Correct.
positions, so they get
Correct.
packages.
And it
Sometimes,
comes full circle because when you go to list that property, you have to think, I want to protect my client who's buying this property, right? So
right.
when you're listing your property, your co-ops, I'm talking co-ops especially, you're going to sit there and you're going to be rest assured that what you're selling will have an opportunity to get passed through the community of buyers that you're going
And
to have for that.
said, I we don't in my office, if we feel that a co co-op is any kind of discrimination, we don't practice real estate in that co-op. So, all the co-ops we work in, they're pretty much cut and dry financial pictures. That's really what it is. And it's great because now that we have this fair housing disclosure form that we've had to incorporate into our interactions with all buyers and sellers, I get to explain that a little bit more. So it's like, hey, I don't
Right.
care if you're black, white, purple, gay, straight, Chinese, Japanese, Greek. I don't care what you are. Do you got green money? That's it. That's all we care about here. So if your money's green and you got the finances, then we're good to go. That's all we care about. So,
Correct. So
and it's crazy
so
because
just
what I
let's change topics for a second. I
I just
wanna I
want
wanna
I
get
want
to
to
another question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so this what I'm noticing now is when I'm explaining this, the sellers are like, this is a thing. Like people don't even realize like this becomes they're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
why would anyone care who's buying if like you're getting money? And I'm like, I don't know. But some people
This
do.
is a thing. This is a
Yeah.
thing. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'll switch topics to advice. Well,
Okay.
you gave a little bit in the beginning of the interview. What advice would you offer to a new agent? What advice would you offer to a more experienced agent who's been in the field so many years? But what advice? Start with the new agent first.
Okay, so new agents, when you come out there, the first thing I would tell you to do is find yourself a team because you do not learn even the scratch of what you need to know in real estate school. So you need to get yourself team so you can get guidance and also see perspective on how different people practice real estate. There's no one right way or wrong way. It's not cut and dry and cookie cutter. So you've got to figure out what feels natural and genuine to you and pair it with people that have experience and know how. And then kind of just see what works for you and emulates. Also, biggest thing you can do, social media is free. Champion your wins. You get a sale, you get a tenant, you get a rental, you get a lead, champion your wins, put it out there. You want to make sure you're being genuine on your social media, but you also want to make sure that all your sphere of influence now knows you're a realtor because they knew you as somebody else, whether you were Johnny, the guy that was really into fitness, or Sam, the girl that was a stay-at-home mom, or whatever the case may be. So now you've got to penetrate your sphere of influence and recategorize yourself to everyone that knows you as a realtor.
And
For the more
older, yeah.
someone that's a fine wine in real estate, don't.
Well, like I start my 32nd year
So
this month. What do you think? What would be your best advice for me?
I would go to any of your realtors under 35 and ask them, in their opinion, what are the top two social media apps that get them engagement. So Facebook is definitely something that has a different age group. Instagram has a different age group. TikTok has a different age group. So I think, putting yourself out there video wise, you are definitely ahead of the game. Joe, big up to you for normalizing going on Facebook Live and Insta Live and just saying, like, hey, it's Joe, and I'm at Marvell in Long Beach. You know what I mean? So really ahead of the curve. But I would tell you, maybe just to reach out and make sure you're compounding and building your social media um, relevance and presence. Google reviews
Awesome.
are free, get them. Zillow reviews are free, get them.
A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't even ask for testimonials from their clientele, and I'm pretty bad at that because I've never really asked. Could you rate me, or could you give me a testimonial? Could you put that in words? I'm kind of
It's
shy when it comes
uncomfortable.
to.
It's
Pardon?
uncomfortable, but you got to. It's uncomfortable, but you got to think about how we've been conditioned as a society to rate. Am I going to go to this new restaurant? It's got 3.5 stars. It's got 4 stars, or you know what I mean. You
Right.
read the first couple of reviews. So we're I think most realtors, I think this is really the truest statement. Some of the best realtors are the most humble and don't like to ask those things. We don't have a narcissistic nature. We're forced to be kind of Like, hey, look, I'm picking button, taking names. So I think that uncomfortable when we're
They're all kicking butt. The
yeah,
market is hot,
markets
hot.
yeah,
Market is hot.
it's
I'm like, stop that. Don't say the market is hot, because in truth, if the market is that hot, we wouldn't be here.
yeah,
So people don't realize the spring market is what we just came out of in the summer, believe it or not, because of COVID, right?
yeah, 100%.
So, it's what we put out there and how we put ourselves out there in forefront of the consumer. And I have to say, you're putting yourself out there, and you're getting a lot of good reviews and a lot of good views, I should say, on your social media. It's awesome. New company, new look, new everything, but you still have your style, your grace, your humor, and everything about you, and that's awesome. And that's a lesson, that's a teaching tool for listers, is to always stay grounded in
Yeah.
yourself.
And
So go
client
ahead.
at Joe. Like, the other thing, meet the client where they're at. Not every client is going to want the same approach. So like I have to like tailor my approach to who I'm in front of. Like I'm not going to bust out like a 3D PowerPoint presentation in front of somebody that's not comfortable in technology. Like we're going to do the paper. You know what I mean? So just be prepared and kind of gauge who your audience is so you can make them feel comfortable, because that's the job, to make them feel
don't
comfortable.
don't forget where you come from, or and always know your audience.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. I really like that. Fiduciary responsibilities,
Okay.
the forefront, the foundation of our business. Old car, obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accountability, reasonable care. If you had to pick one, and I know all of them are very important to you, which one would you pick,
Mm,
and
I
why?
think reasonable care.
Okay.
I think reasonable care is something that goes back to, I think reasonable care kind of encompasses a few of those things. So that's why I think it's the most important. You need to own when you don't know something. Now's not the time to be like, yeah, this is fine. This crack is supposed to look like this. I think reasonable care is the most important thing, because if you're transparent in what you know and what you don't know, then you're really never misleading the client. And you can say,
Correct.
hey, I don't know this, but I'm going to find it out. Let's go find out. Let's go find a person that does know this kind of is an expert in this specific question and get you an answer. So
Right.
I think there's a misunderstanding where people feel like they need to know everything about real estate. You just need to be honest and have reasonable care to be able to say when you don't know something, because you don't want to mislead somebody. You don't want to do something where, and I think that has to do with, um, loyalty. I think reasonable care is one of those really big things that is kind of glazed over a bit.
It ties in with everything else that we do. I know that when I uh, tell a client that I will take very good care of you and take good care of this that you've entrusted to me, this sale or this home, I sincerely mean it. I think reasonable care comes with a lot of heart to it, and I know that we both think that, because that's why you're here, actually. Because you think heart, with your work, and you're passionate about what you do. That's why I brought up that advocacy, because you are a very, very passionate person when it comes to your clients, to defending them, to selling to them, to list for them. And I can't give you any more kudos. And you're a member of YPN too, Young Professionals Network for the Long Island Board of Realtors. Were you in the top 20 under 40?
Yes.
Okay. So I've had a lot of top 20s under 40s. This is great. I got another one. All right. So, well, hey, listen, this has been great. You're an inspiration, and I want to thank you for being on the show. I really do. Any last minute words?
Subscribe to my YouTube channel and Instagram, and then also subscribe to those. Jessica Elmazi at YouTube, or you can just Google the moves you and find all of our information and kind of see what we're doing and where we're expanding and spreading to. Thanks,
Great,
Joe.
great. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is
Welcome.
Joe Sonona with Sonona Speak Seminars, Coffee Talk with the Listing Pros in Real Estate. And my guest this week was Jess, or Jessica, Elmazi of Compass Real Estate. Thank you so much, Jess, for being on the show. Have a good
Thanks,
day,
Joe.
everyone.